Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am back with yet another installment in my running series here called Marvel United X-Men Who Dis, where we look at all these kind of obscure, to some people at least, obscure stretch goal characters and explain exactly who the hell they are and give you just some very high level background on them so that my hope is when you finally get your pledge, you'll either already be a little more connected to the character and more likely to play with them, or you can always come back and check out this video series and, you know, give yourself a quick refresher so that you know who you're playing with. Because the context, can be valuable in a game like this that is so kind of heavily themed. So let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about Boom Boom. Real name, Tabitha Smith. Here we go. Teenage runaway Tabitha Smith left after her parents reacted badly to her innate ability to fire time bombs from her hands. If I recall correctly, she ended up putting a very small time bomb in her dad's dinner or something like that, and it blew up in his face. He didn't love that. After running away, she renamed herself Boom Boom and ended up in a criminal gang led by Vanisher called the Fallen Angels. She sought out the X Factor to help her destroy Vanisher, who she felt treated her badly. Though she decided not to turn Vanisher in, she left with the X Factor and joined them and later the X-Men. She loved pranking her fellow mutants by firing off time bombs and did it often. So, right away, visually, you get a lot of sense of who and what this character's all about. She's a little bit of a jokey kind of. We're going to get into it a little bit more, but she's kind of abrasive and mouthy. Not, I don't mean to say that in a. She just is a blabbermouth and kind of always is talking and going on in situations where it's not appropriate, and she's kind of vain about her appearance and whatnot, and I always thought of her kind of like a Valley Girl almost, like an 80s Valley Girl, but apparently she's from Roanoke, Virginia, and so that doesn't kind of track with that, but that was what I always had in my mind. I don't know where I got that from, but anyways. So, in terms of how she plays in the game, Boom Boom is a true firecracker. Her ability to generate bombs of pure energy can cause a meltdown in her location, taking an enemy down a peg or two. But more strategically, she's able to plant bomb tokens around, which will only detonate at the start of the next villain turn, dealing 1 damage to everything else there. Hopefully that gives the others enough time to get out of there. So this is interesting because she can basically toss her bombs and they'll sit there until the next villain activation, and if they go off, they'll do 1 damage to as much stuff as is in that space, basically. So villains, minions or henchmen or whatever they're called, and other heroes, and probably even herself. It doesn't specify here that she wouldn't be damaged by her own time bombs. So that's kind of cool. And again, they're doing a really good job of capturing the flavor of these characters and their basic kind of power set in the game. I like this a lot. And then we've got her miniature here. Looks pretty cool. She's got the fireball held back, ready to go. The time bomb. She's kind of funny in the books because she'll throw one and she'll kind of count it out because she can kind of control when it explodes. So oftentimes she'll have one of these bombs in her hand and she'll toss it and be like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then it blows. So that's the basic primer from the campaign. Let's take a look at our now world-renowned Grumpy Meeple MS Paint design here and dig a little deeper. So Boom Boom, whatever you want to call her, we'll get into that. Her first appearance was actually in a kind of one of those big event books called Secret Wars 2. and it was issue number 5. And basically, what happens is she's riding on a train that an insanely powerful character named the Beyonder, is on, and he basically gets tired of being on the train or irritated by the fact that he has to sit on a train instead of just kind of being wherever he wants to be just through thought. And so he just like dematerializes the train and basically destroys it. And she's on it with him and says, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" And they end up kind of becoming a weird like team slash friendship, and it plays into how Secret Wars 2 ends up resolving and whatnot. But the key element from that book is that she reveals in it that the reason she's on that train is because she's run away from home. And again, what happened was her mutant powers manifested, and her parents, her father in particular, was kind of majorly anti-mutant and disgusted with her, and ended up actually kind of physically abusing her as a result. You can see here, she's always wearing these sunglasses in almost every kind of iteration of the character. She's got a pair of sunglasses, often green, on. And here you can see early on they established that, it's not just a fashion thing. She's hiding a bruised eye, basically. And I think that that's probably an element of the character that is persistent, that she's kind of hiding behind these glasses and hiding her true feelings. I think about it like I had the same kind of sense or feeling from Kylo Ren from the Star Wars sequel trilogy, that part of the reason he wears that mask is so that people don't see how indecisive he is and conflicted he is. And so I think there's probably something of the same going on here. So, kind of a tragic backstory, but she bounces back from it and ends up joining basically right at the tail end of the first volume of the New Mutants, and falls in with Cannonball, who she falls in love with and has kind of an on-again, off-again relationship with. And the rest of the New Mutants, until Cable shows up and basically disbands the team and reforms them and relaunches the comic as X-Force. And so if we scroll down a little bit here we see her playing with her powers. Unfortunately, she's going up against Rogue, who is virtually invulnerable and is definitely not bothered by her little time bombs. So you can see her here. This is her kind of attitude. She's just always kind of jabbering and talking trash. Come on, feel it, Rogue. Boom, boom, boom. And Rogue's just like, nope, and just blasts her in the face. If you're wondering why they're fighting, read the Executioner song. Basically, the various X teams go after X-Force because they think they're responsible for some terrible crimes that have happened, or at least tangled up in it, because who they really suspect is Cable. But anyways, so, and a couple of these scenes are from Executioner Song because it's one of my favorite kind of trashy 90s crossover X-Men stories, and there's a couple of funny kind of moments with her in it. So another element of the character that's kind of funny is she is known for changing her kind of secret identity or her code name. And you can see here, so she's on Krakoa in the current timeline, and here she's hanging out with a character named Sage, and Sage is talking about, and it's like a running joke that she's constantly changing her code name. So Sage says here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Sage says, not all of us like changing our code names like our underwear. And Boom Boom's like, I don't. And Sage just goes through the list. Boom Boom, Meltdown, Firecracker, Dr. Madam, Explode, Time Bomb, Boomer. Did I miss any? And Boomer goes on to kind of push back on, hey, Dr. Madam Explode, that was just a joke. And then again, getting back to the nature of the character and her kind of jabbery behavior, where she's just constantly talking trash. She's almost kind of like hyper. I imagine her to be kind of like hyperactive, you know? And you can see here, she's just had her jaw broken in the middle of a fight with the Mutant Liberation Front. And Cannonball, who she's kind of romantically involved with at the time, is standing nearby and just says, "This is incredible. Even with a broken jaw, she can't shut up." And he just says, "What a gal." So, a fun character, not kind of one of my all-time favorites, but I like that first run of X-Force, not nearly as much as later runs like Uncanny X-Force, which is one of the greatest comic runs of all time, in my opinion. But I did like it, and I liked the militarization of the New Mutants and their kind of change in attitude. Because I think it makes sense in the world that they live in, where they've grown up basically being feared and persecuted. And so if you want to see more about Boomer, Boom Boom, slash Boom Boom, slash Meltdown, slash Time Bomb, slash Dr. Madam Explode, go back and read that first X-Force run. She features heavily basically in that whole run. She's also in the current books. You see her a lot in the New Mutants books, where she'll kind of show up and she's either drunk or hungover and she wants to go on an adventure and kind of get involved again, and they go and try and save some of their friends from the Xavier Institute, and things kind of go wrong from there. And then in terms of crossovers, which are a really good place to see a lot of these characters, especially in the 90s, they used to do these books where they would just like cram every X character into one book. And so she's a core character in the Extinction Agenda storyline, where the Genosians and Cameron Hodge are basically trying to kind of wipe out the mutant race. They start particularly by targeting the X-Men because they think of them kind of as terrorists for previous actions in Genosha. And she's one of the characters that gets captured by them early on in that storyline, basically. And then, of course, you can read Executioner's Song. Again, some of these panels, this panel and this panel, are both from that storyline. And that's, like I said, it's a fun, don't go into that book expecting House of X, Powers of X levels of like storytelling and whatnot, but it's a fun story with a ton of Jim Lee art and awesome battles where they're just, everybody's fighting everybody. The Horsemen get involved, the Dark Riders get involved, Sinister's there, Apocalypse, Strife. Basically, the only major X character who isn't involved in that series is actually Magneto, and he's supposedly dead at the time. So cool crossover, lots of stuff going on, and that's all I had on Boom Boom. Let me know what you think below. Let me know if you're still enjoying this format. Let me know if I missed anything, or if you have any thoughts about the character, and we will just keep cranking along. And next time we'll be covering, I'm actually not sure, let's take a look. I believe the next character we're going to be looking at is Longshot. Oh, okay, so this will be fun. Longshot's a cool character. And we get to talk a little bit about the Mojoverse when talking about Longshot. So we will cover him next time, and I will talk to you later.